Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about the importance of washing our hands and what we need to consider to keep our hands in good health so that we don't get them drying out or any cracks or things like that that might actually increase the susceptibility or risk of pathogens and viruses or bacteria sort of getting in through the skin and then into the bloodstream and infecting us, because we all know that we're told to wash our hands, because if we've got something on our hands and we touch our face or our nose or our eyes, it can get into the body. But if we have any cracks or damage to the hand, things can get into the body that way too. In saying that though, it's really important to emphasize why we are washing our hands. So this particular virus actually has a lipid or sort of fat layer around the outside, and when you use a soap or a detergent to wash your hands, you're literally breaking that apart, so you're killing the virus. So it's a fantastic way to get rid of the virus off your hands. But we know that when you're washing your hands all the time, it can strip all those natural oils, impact on all the bacteria, the good bacteria. Think about the microbiome and all the bacteria in our gut. We also have bacteria in our skin and in our mouth and other parts of our body that keep us healthy. So when we're washing our hands all the time or using sanitizers, we're getting rid of some of the good things on our hands as well. So we want to take care of our hands. We want to make sure we're washing them to get rid of the virus and things like that, but we don't want them to dry out. We don't want them to get cracked, and we don't want to go on to develop things like contact dermatitis or even psoriasis. And I say this from personal experience, and this is why I wanted to have a little video on washing hands and the importance of doing it with things that aren't going to irritate your hands. And that's because a few years ago, at the age of 40, I'd never had any skin issues, but after having my daughter Estelle, I developed a bit of contact dermatitis. I was washing my hands all the time, as you do when you have a new baby. You're changing nappies constantly and trying to keep your hands clean, and they started drying out, and then I started getting quite irritated by the soaps. I do think initially it was more this contact dermatitis, but eventually it turned into psoriasis. And it wasn't just from washing my hands. I definitely don't think that was the cause. It was a trigger, but not the cause. When we look at what was going on in my life at the time, like with all things in health, it was multifactorial. I'd had a baby, no doubt I was nutrient deplete, given all the nutrients to her. I was breastfeeding, I was very tired, she wasn't a good sleeper, I was working, I was traveling. So my stress was up. I probably had some, low in certain important nutrients and fatigued, things like that. And then just constantly washing my hands just turned into this sort of skin condition. And it took me about a year to recover from that. So I'm very cautious when I wash my hands with what I'm using, because if I use harsh detergents, harsh soaps, it actually irritates my hands. So even though I'm better now, I still have to take care of them. So what do I use? This is what was recommended by the dermatologist, and it definitely does not irritate my hands. I have this one at home, obviously a bit big to carry around in my handbag, but I do not use it all the time because it does have parabens, and parabens are something that we don't want to use a lot of. There are a number of chemicals that have been shown to be what we call endocrine disruptors. Endocrine disruptors are things that affect your hormones, and our hormones affect our fertility, our mood, our weight, our skin. Basically, they're little communicators in the body, and our hormones influence the way we think, the way we feel. So even though it's only a small amount, and this on its own is very safe, I'm not saying this is a toxic product. The issue is when people are a bit more sensitive, perhaps they've got a slow or sluggish liver, they're not digesting things properly, they're not using their bowels and getting waste products out, they're not sweating, and all these ways that we sort of get rid of chemicals and toxins and waste products, these things can build up, particularly depending on how much you use. So if you're washing your hands a lot with that, and you're using a moisturizer and a face cream and a shampoo and this and that, that's got this same chemical, and for whatever reason you're not eliminating it, things can build up in the body, and that's when it's an issue. So I'm not saying this product is toxic, but for those of you that need to consider these chemicals and toxins because you are a bit more sensitive or you've got some health issues, you don't want to be using that. Initially I didn't even realize it had the parabens in it, I just happened to look at the ingredient list, which I generally do with all things, but I looked at this one and found out a bit later. So I do use it when my other soaps run out because it doesn't irritate my hands, but I try not to use it often and probably won't invest too much more in that one. I'm also using this. This was given to me after speaking at the AIMA conference. I got a beautiful box from Eco Store. By the way, I don't get any endorsements from speaking about these things. This is just my opinion to you as someone who suffered with some hand things and wants you to wash your hands, but also take care of your hands so that you don't develop any skin issues or any cracking so that you're more susceptible to this virus and other pathogens. So this one is great. I'm not reacting to it at all. It doesn't seem to be causing any irritation, and it's got all lovely, nice ingredients. It's made in New Zealand. You can get it from the supermarket and it's relatively cheap. And before all this COVID-19 stuff, I travelled a lot, and when I travel, I actually travel with little bottles or even sachets of hand wash. So this particular one by Dermal Therapy, free from SELs, free from petrochemicals, sulfates, parabens, fragrances, This is a great one. So I was travelling with that. It's a little bit gross. Sorry, I found it at the bottom of my makeup bag. I wanted to show it to you, but I got that from the pharmacy. Aesop, being Australian, I like to use Australian where I can, or this is from New Zealand, the Eco Store. This is better than some of the harsh things that you get in the shopping centres or in airports, but it does dry my hands out a little bit, and there's one particular ingredient that I cannot pronounce that my dermatologist mentioned. I haven't seen her in a few years, but when I was saying I was reacting to certain soap, she said look for a particular chemical because a lot of people tend to react to it. It's in this one. I'm going to write it down for you. So that's a bit of a pity because Aesop, you would think, being so natural, that they wouldn't have that, but be aware of that one, but still better than some of the others. And little bottles like this when you're traveling can be good. So when you do get back into your usual routine, think about, traveling with little things that you can use so that these soaps aren't so harsh on your skin. And then of course, moisturize, moisturize, moisturize. At the moment I'm using Cora, some Miranda Kerr stuff, nearly all organic and great ingredients. And I've just recently bought this hand cream that was recommended to me. So silk oil of Morocco, again, ingredients are great, natural aloe vera, certain almond oils, things like that, and made in Australia. So that's all I want to say for now. Here's my little girl coming in, hello. So just if you do need to consider things on your hands, here's my son as well. All right, this video is over. So his husband, it's okay. All right, bye. Wash your hands and think about the chemicals and products you're washing your hands with and moisturizing them.